Hey everybody, it's the last RoboKai here, and welcome to the final main episode of Let's Play Prey. We're pretty much at the end game here. Well, it's not even like pretty much. We're undoubtedly at the end game. We've got the Apex Typhon sitting outside, putting these gribblies into every nook and cranny of the station, trying to find something to eat. And it's up to us to stop him. And well, I put out a poll, and I asked everybody, did they want to blow up the station, or did they want to use the prototype null wave transmitter to, basically kill all the Typhon, but save the station so that we would still have all the wonderful research that we've committed horrible crimes against humanity to achieve. And everyone went with the null wave, which kind of surprised me. So whatever. I'm joined by Cool Guy.
What up, what up? And I am really excited for this, not just to see the ending, but also because right fricking after this episode, I'm going to go start my own game. Like, chomping at the bit to do that for weeks. I can't. And by the way, like, I made a promise that I would look up some of the alternate paths and constellations from last episode, and I got a number of folks both in the thread and in like emailing us and sending comments and everything. Don't do that because you might spoil yourself on a couple of things right at the end. And I'm just like, fine, you guys know best. You guys know best.
Because the ending is pretty good. And it's nothing more needs to be said. I think let's just jump straight in. And we start off where we left ourselves in Alex's safe room.
Oh right, microgravity. I was sitting here like,
why can't I use the stairs? Weird? Yeah, he's still out there.
How you doing?
Man, that is one ugly mess of brain eater right there. That is
King Gribbly.
Let's go see if I could get a scan point from here. It's not easy to do. Something to note about the Apex Typhon, we will get warned about it later. If you try and scan it, it just does a ridiculous amount of damage to you. The psychoscope can't handle it, and it just overloads.
Okay then, so it's like trying to scan with the scouter.
You could have left me to die. It's more important than ever now that we finish this the right way. Take care of the null wave device. I'll head for the bridge as soon as I catch my breath.
Yeah, so we can't scan it, but we can scan its tendrils. It's also worth noting the tendrils are attracted to movement, and sort of have a maximum range they extend out before they go, oh well, I'm done, and disappear. You can shoot them. They're actually not very strong at all because they're only just like little pokey-feely things, and yeah, like they track movement, so they're just gonna keep slapping me on the backside here. It's very rude. Excuse me.
That looks like a little bit more than a backslap. That looks like more a full body violation.
They only go in for the brain, so the rest of it just sort of washes over you, I guess.
Sure, that's comforting.
You anticipated the kind of appeal Alex would make. Sibling bonds, history. You programmed me to refute him point by point. However, we can skip that. A Typhon the size of a skyscraper is currently eating Talos 1 for lunch. Ergo, Alex is wrong. Destroy the station, just as you planned. The blast will take the monster down with it.
Destroy the station? But didn't you hear him? The null wave. Alex is correct. It could work and preserve what we have learned here. We have to try.
Igwe, look at the alien outside the station.
Of course it's a risk, but we've seen the generator work. To destroy all this, to murder a species, and the research lost. It's...
January's right, Morgan. We can't let these things get back to Earth, even if one of them hit Earthside.
Morgan, please. Destroying the station should be the last option, not the first.
A compelling argument is we can try the null wave first, and if that fails, then we can blow the station up.
Right? I mean that is really the point where Igwe gets on my good side here.
Or that creature destroys us. I disagree strongly with people who advocate for the removal of instructive consequences because they want to live in a world where no personal pleasure is ever denied. We don't have much time, Morgan. Morgan?
Yeah, January's getting real weird on us, I think.
Yeah, that was one of the weirder non sequiturs I've seen in this game, and this game has had a number of very weird non sequiturs.
Yeah. But like we said, the thread and anybody else who visited the thread and got the straw poll going, and there was quite a number of votes for it too. They voted to, in the majority for the null wave.
Mm-hmm.
So we're gonna go do that.
The heart of the coral is in psychotronics, in the original containment cylinder. Placing the null wave device there will override the entire coral network with our own signal. Use your psychoscope to locate the exact spot.
It says that, but the psychoscope never actually gets used for that.
Okay, fair enough.
Well, that's a bit concerning.
Yeah, like not even being able to look outside because there's so many ooey gooey bits all over the station is a little bit disconcerting, to say the least.
Yeah, I really don't appreciate the Apex Typhon mooning us against the glass like that. It's a bit messed up.
He has 1,000,000 asses. This is the cave of 40 asses.
He's obviously eaten an Australian or, specifically a bogan at some point. That's what I'd like. I'd like to see a prey thing where everybody on the station is replaced with a bogan.
Either that or just like an American redneck. You've got that would basically be the Space Station 13 mod. We've made a couple of jokes about that, but yeah, that would basically be it.
If the idea hasn't occurred to you, I'm sure it will eventually.
Oh my god, shut up.
I can't predict what would happen if you scan the Apex.
Oh.
Mm-hmm.
To suffering.
By the way, January's going to be making some pleas with us not to do this.
Yeah, no, like I get she's made her stand here, and the number one point that she can't talk about is what exactly is going to stop us from blowing up the station if the null wave transmitter doesn't work.
Yeah, I think it's something the game sort of doesn't even treat as a reasonable idea, unfortunately. Probably one of the I don't know, like one of the weaker premises in the game. No one sort of brings that up. I suppose because mechanically speaking, we're going towards an ending, and we don't really get the luxury of picking one or the other.
In terms of the game itself, it makes perfect sense, simply because there's no sense in having something as a choice that isn't actually a choice, particularly when you've been playing the whole Choices Matter card during this entire game, right? That would be insanely cheap and disrespectful to everybody who's played the, I don't know, like this LP has gone on for what, about 15 hours so far, give or take.
Yeah, probably a bit more than that.
So even let's assume that we're being too pokey. 10 hours you've played this game and you fake somebody out right at the end. That would be insanely disrespectful. So I mean, gameplay fiat, I get it, but story-wise, it takes me out of it a little bit here right at the end. Also, come on, Weaver. Just you're not
He's
funny.
dropping all of the cystoids.
You're not clever. You're just dead.
Sort of a funny moment where the medical operator kind of flies in the way there and
gets
energized. Has a nice effect on it.
Diagnosing superficial injuries. Nothing a portable medical kit can handle. This won't take long. Good as
yeah, sure, buddy.
to complete a patient.
I said early on in the game, I don't know if we'll ever get into that room. Well, yeah, we're going in that room now.
Turns out we are.
I was being incredibly foolhardy, forgetting that it's like a part of the end game of all things. Of course, it would be. It's where it all began. It's like poetry. It rhymes. I still don't understand why everything else goes translucent when you pick it up, but the O2 bottle does not.
Yeah, the blue light flashing at you is really distracting me. Yeah, just throw a tarp at it. Sure, why not?
Yeah, let's just cover up all the things that have happened with the Typhon with a really big tarp. Why can't we do that? Why can't we defeat the Apex Typhon by just putting a tarp on it?
You literally want to black bag it like you're the CIA or something. Honestly, I'm okay with that. Alright, microgravity and... Good lord. What even is constituting the center of that?
Well, this is the original Sputnik. That was the first thing that actually encountered it.
Kill them.
Adrenaline and another dose of Morgan's cell light. Do it.
Yep.
That should do it. Come to the bridge. We can finish this thing once and for all.
Assume Alex's plan succeeds. Then what? You're taking a massive gamble that there aren't more predators like the Typhon. In the history of the universe, humans have only recently become self-aware. Yet you're going to kick the door open on a much wider and older cosmic ecology. One that feeds on consciousness. These are shark-infested waters. Alex believes we can be the bigger shark, but what if we're just poor swimmers? And now there's blood in the water.
Nice to see you.
Blood in the water has already happened, my girl. You know what
Yeah,
I mean?
Yeah.
That ship sailed before we got on the helicopter back in episode 1.
Yeah, the Typhon were already considering us very delicious food. Before then, I don't think this is gonna change too much.
Yeah, seriously, like, I mean, the arguments for blowing up the station just don't make sense here in the 11th hour, which, you know, I mean, is fine, particularly in the case of, you know, if one is supposed to specifically appeal to the scientist in somebody, and one is supposed to appeal to the survivalist. There have been a number of those sorts of dual situations so far. Killing a whole bunch of the humans that you meet makes no sense unless you are valuing your survival over basically everybody else's, which is a legitimate thing to feel in this sort of situation. Fight or flight, survival by scratching. You know, it's one of the most basic human animal responses that there can be. But you know, I guess I'm a little bit too detached from the panic and horror of the situation to really feel that deep down in the pit of my gut.
Well, the first time I played the game, I ended up going with the null wave solution as well. So it's not entirely incorrect. And it actually kind of surprised me once I did it, because I considered myself quite in opposition to Alex.
Sure.
But it was once the revelation sort of sunk in and everything else came in, I was like, well, in the end, it's not a bad idea. It is a pretty necessary idea.
Can you still make super tomatoes over there? Is that why the sprinkler system is still highlighted?
Yes.
Oh my god.
This is the perfect time to try and win over the. That's the fourth secret ending no one's gotten yet. It's where you make a super tomato for the Typhon, and it goes, "Hey, that's pretty good. I don't want to eat people anymore. I want to eat this.
I just want the super tomatoes." That is, I'm going to spend like 20 minutes in the playthrough I do just making super tomatoes right there while the tentacles go over and try to claw my ghoulies. Just the sheer freaking absurdity of it.
Looking after the farm. Yep.
Morgan, Igwe, what's the update on our patient?
Commander Dahl is making a speedy recovery, and we are making our way to the shuttle bay. I've informed him of the threat to the station, and...
Fine, Morgan, I'll meet you in the shuttle bay.
Wow, thanks, Michaela.
What the hell have you done?
I simply acted on Morgan's order.
Oh, Lord.
Nonsense. You're a machine. An ill-conceived one. Morgan would never... You tricked her. Who programmed you?
I represent the desires of Morgan Yu, circa January 12th, 2035. Your sister created me to ensure her objectives would meet with success, and that yours would fail.
Mine? There's no difference between what I want and what Morgan wants. Not the real Morgan.
The idea of a real Morgan is fiction.
There's got to be an override.
Please step away from the terminal. You've left me no choice.
She's gonna murk you, dude.
Goodbye, January. They actually have a conversation with you if you go up.
Choice.
And like try to make an appeal to one another, and then Alex tries to attack January, and the same thing sort of happens.
Every Typhon on Talos 1, including the big one outside.
Just let me have this moment with my baby Alex.
I'll let you do the honors, but you better hurry.
Did January
And in the end,
hurt you
January
one last
hummed
time?
me.
Oh
Yep.
my god.
It's appropriate.
It was incredibly appropriate.
Yes, pick that up. That's right, me. You fucking idiot. Right at the end of the game.
Wugga 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 wugga.
What is a neuromod? Well, it's both an easy answer and a complicated one at the same time. It is the future, today. More importantly, our past, today. This is the work TranStar does. Every employee working together. It's immortality. And it is beautiful.
And so that was Prey. Obviously, that's not the entirety of Prey. We still have a little after credits thing to do. They love to do that in video games.
Of course they do. And of course, this was only one playthrough of Prey. I can't imagine that I'll be doing my own for the channel, because seriously, you've already shown off the game as well as I can imagine it's shown off. But yeah, there's definitely plenty more that any one person could do. Holy buckets! I absolutely that was a complete. Excuse me, goodness gracious! That was a complete joy to watch. I can't wait to start my own playthrough. I'm gonna go freaking do that after we're done here.
When I started this game, I talked about how Prey is just one of those games that runs really well with its themes and its ideas, and manages to have an internal consistency all the way through on it. And yeah, it absolutely 100% never lets you down. Never lets you down. It knows exactly what it's here to do, and it does it so well. I know some people like criticize it for, like, you know, the guns not being more impressive and meaty, but they're absolutely 100% within the realm of the game itself appropriate. Like, you know, like pistols and shotguns being the only major conventional weapon goes completely in hand with, like, you know, why the station got so out of control when the Typhon broke out. You know, and you know, largely because it was Alex, and he didn't want security for the Typhon. He wanted security for the people on the station, because he believed they were going to be the ones who fucked everything up. Because he had an incredibly guilty conscience because they were doing horrible, terrible, no good, very bad things.
True story.
This game is immersive in a way a lot of games try to be and completely fail to be. That they managed to make this entire place feel lived in. There's never really anything that seems entirely out of place, except maybe everyone carrying banana peels. I know that bothered you. Oh, Hollow Nightmare, how you doing?
It was more just hilarious than anything else. The main thing that is uncomfortably out of place are things like the coffee mug right here on this credit screen right now, which, you know, on some level or another is a damn mimic.
Don't be silly. How could that be a mimic?
I literally saw it pop into existence, and like this is really the thing that is the reason why I like Arcane as a studio so consistently. Is that this level of focus on what they're doing, particularly when you're talking about a team of dozens upon dozens of people. I mean, look at just these credits, right? You know, this is a huge team, and everything remains focused, everything remains coherent. That sort of leadership and dedication is rare the entire world over, and for a studio to be able to so consistently bring this sort of focus and attention and love to their craft for literally a decade now. I mean, the first Arcane game that we did on this channel was Dark Messiah, and that was that was frickin' a 2006 game, something like that. Now we got Prey 2017, and it's just this long legacy of success with their flagship products, and I don't think they get enough credit for that. I really
we don't sit down and say, hey, let's be the guys that always let's play Arcane games. It just so happens that the Arcane games are all really fun to play.
Yeah, like our entire MO is we will never let's play something that we don't have an amazing amount of fun with, and that we aren't really passionate to bring to people. It's no coincidence that every freaking Arcane game has hit that bar. Like, that doesn't happen on accident.
It is, yeah, and it just continue to, like, the other thing that really sort of gets me about them is they always just seem to never treat you like an idiot. That's probably the best thing, I think. Like, Prey never bashes you over the head with stuff. It just gives you stuff along the way. You can play the entirety of the game and have absolutely no idea what's going on if you don't pay attention. The game doesn't like sit you down in a room with everybody and give you an explanation at the end. Nobody starts clapping and goes, "Congratulations, Shinji." You know, like. You know, and you know, and narrate to you why you figured everything out. The game even sort of like, the game really notices what you've been doing and responds to what you've been doing, and it tells you it sees what you've been doing, and that's a very important part of Prey. Is that it acknowledges you. It acknowledges that you are your own person, and yeah, you know, you've got all those different Morgans in the past, but they serve to just make you distinct from them, because they get enough of them to realize, okay, you're not this previous character. Yes, this previous character existed. This previous character is that you are physically is responsible for everything that's going on, is also responsible for freeing you, is also responsible for a few other things. But you don't have to be that person. You are you, and you do what you want to do, and the game responds accordingly. And that's, you know, like, not too many games just take you by the hand and, like, you know, gently push you along and say, you've got to go here, you got to go here. You know, like, Prey says, look, you got to go here, but you can pretty much just go wherever else you want at the same time. Like, dude, we just gave you a key that unlocks everything. Like, the only reason you get funneled to hardware labs the first time is just so you can get the booster pack, so it makes sense as to why you go into space. After that, it's basically just like, whatever, dude, go for it.
I will say, I promised that I would talk about this a little bit last episode, and just to give an idea of, like, the level of complexity that we're talking about with regard to that level of responsiveness, you can think of a traditional, like, strictly linear game as a set of rooms in a house that are connected by hallways, right? This is the simplest way to think about it. You start in the living room. You can do X, Y, and Z in the living room. You then go to the kitchen. You can do X, Y, and Z in the kitchen, so on and so forth. And the way that things are set up...
You might want to hold that thought.
I'll hold the thought.
It's finished. How did it do?
Activation of the mirror neurons is promising. Empathy quotient shows to be exceptionally high.
It probably thinks it was dreaming, and nothing mattered.
You're assuming it thinks like us.
Its life depends on it. Ours too. It all comes down to the choices it made.
It saved me from the cargo container. I would have suffocated otherwise, and later it recovered the Lightner connectomes. They were of no practical use, except that they were deeply meaningful to me. It installed multiple Typhon-based neuromods. It could mean an instinctive return to its own kind, or an attempt to integrate its dual natures. But its most surprising act was sparing Da. While perhaps for purely selfish reasons, this, at least in principle, enabled others to escape Talos 1.
Michaela.
I would have died without my medication. That wasn't easy. That says a lot, I think, about its heart. Can I say that it has a heart? It also found my father's records. And then, I did not expect this, but it let me listen to them. Despite the self-incriminating content, it was willing to make itself vulnerable. Then, there was a man in psychotronics, Ingram. It let him go. Was that mercy?
Would you let it live?
Yes.
Sarah, you're next.
The situation in the cargo bay was bad. None of us would have survived without its help, and it destroyed a large number of Typhon across the station. That has to be a good sign. Further, it thwarted Dar's attempt to use us as hostages. If it were one of my officers, I would give it a commendation.
Danielle, what do you say?
It found me. It didn't need to, but it did. I asked it to stop Volunteer 37. That was dangerous. No way to be sure, but I think it has a sense of retribution. There were a lot of humans controlled by the Typhon that it could have harmed. Seems like it went out of its way to avoid that. I think it's worth the risk.
In the end, it chose to activate the null wave device. Why? To preserve the Typhon technology? We can't really know what its motives were for anything it did.
But we have to make a choice. You can hear us, can't you? Here. I want to show you something. What you experienced was a reconstruction based on Morgan's memories. This is the world today. We spent years trying to put what you can do into us. We never tried putting what we can do into you. Until now. You're the bridge between our species. I need to know if you see us. I mean, really see us. Take my hand if you do. We're gonna shake things up, like old times.
Fucking beautiful.
A lot of people think that's a sequel hook, but they don't really realize that what it is the game's been tracking you. The game has been very carefully watching what you've been doing, and lets you know exactly what it thinks of it. And it is entirely possible, at the end of it, with the way you've been conducting yourself, for them to decide you are not what they need, and to flush you.
Shit. That is gorgeous. Absolutely gorgeous.
You were talking about segments of rooms and everything. They were tracking not just the major events you did, but how often you engaged in combat with the Typhon, how often you attempted to stop people from being mind-controlled by peaceful means. It's pretty impressive how much they incorporated that into the end there.
Absolutely gorgeous. And I mean, if that does end up being a sequel hook, I think it's presumptuous to say that it is, because everybody is always willing to do a sequel. You can always create a sequel, but to say this is absolutely going to get a sequel is presuming that you're going to do like tens of millions of dollars in business, which I mean, you can hope for it, but if you want to count on it, you're gonna want to present your figuring. To say the least. That's something that you definitely want to be able to justify beyond the shadow of a doubt, because, like I said, this is a collective labor of love of dozens of people. Those dozens of people are counting on you to make the correct decision.
Yeah. So, would you like to finish your thoughts about the rooms?
So
and
yeah, basically the way that a lot of these things work out. Now, you can make with programming, you can make individual changes to certain rooms, right? You can put a cup here, a cup there, and that's not necessarily a big deal. But to have major changes, like Michaela being here or there or not here, or the Coral having this much progression or having somewhat less progression, or any of 100 of the other major changes that they've made. The amount of effort involved, is relatively equivalent to simply making a second room with a second hallway going towards it. So you can consider each one of the choices that you made a separate fork in the road, a separate hallway to go down to reach the next room. Now, let's just go back through all of the decisions that the operators and Alex just figured on, just enumerated off. How many were there? 6, 8, 10, more? Each one of those is another room that needs to be created. Mathematically, you can think about this in 2 to the fork power. So let's say there were 8. That's 2 to the 8th power, which Google is going to tell me is, because I don't remember that off the top of my head, 256. So making that just that level of decision, or those number of decisions, is approximately 256 times harder than making it handholdy and linear. Now, obviously, a lot of this mathematical complexity can be made reasonable with a good team of coherent people and good leadership. But how common is that in the world? That's really the point where where I feel we need to really appreciate what's happened here. This studio has gone through and done a couple hundred times more work than they needed to make a game, purely because they thought it was required to do the thing that they set out to do.
Yeah, and keep in mind, they've also, on top of that, have had to do things like, what if the player kills January the first time they meet, but still decides to follow through on the process of destroying the station? Mm-hmm. They have to plan for things like that too. And there is even an achievement, and this cracks my shit up. There is an achievement for escaping the station with Dahl and nobody else. So what you have to do is you have to go through the processes to get Dahl, and then remove Ilyushin, and if you haven't, the people in the other area. And once you get rid of them, then finishing the game. And so the game is it is phenomenally well done, and like one of the things that stops me from playing games is if you get to the end and everything that you have done doesn't matter, and all you got to do is press a variety of buttons. I'm primarily talking about Human Revolution, Deus Ex Human Revolution, where you got 4 buttons in a tunnel to walk down and nothing you did mattered. That made me angry, and every time I go to sit down and actually play that game again, I don't, because it pisses me off.
That was all. You also brought up that exact situation with Mass Effect 3, and you telling me that was the reason why I never played that game. I only ever played the multiplayer.
No, like a lot of stuff that you do in Mass Effect 3 matters throughout Mass Effect 3, but when you get to the end, none of that matters. So it's like you've been gathering up the ingredients to make a cake, and Prey, what you've done, that's the cake that you've produced. Have you made a chocolate cake? Have you made a carrot cake? Prey sits you down and says, hey, look, here's the cake you made. That's pretty cool, isn't it? Wow. And the other things, they go, okay, well, you've got rid of all these ingredients. Just pick one of these cakes that we've already gotten prepared for you from here. It's just how about you fuck yourself? So yeah.
All of this other thing I was doing was just earning admission to the bakery at that point.
Yeah, it just annoys me. Even the original Deus Ex, when you made the decision of what you wanted to do, they actually had processes that you had to go through to complete it. So it's not the same sort of thing as Prey, but it still gives the player a lot more respect. But Prey is just you get to an end. The third end is actually kind of a joke ending, and that's why I avoided it entirely. Because basically, when you get into the escape pod and leave, you just hear Alex go, "No, he's not the one," and that's it. That kind of spoils it a bit. So I didn't want to do that. Although I imagine a lot of people already figured out what was going on by all the really weird things that were happening quite loudly and clearly.
Yeah, particularly when you install the null wave. It's just like, yeah, there's a little bit more going on.
Yeah, everyone was waiting for it. They knew the ending wasn't the actual ending. So yeah, like Prey is such an amazing game, and I'm actually really looking forward to sitting down after this and recording all the extra stuff, because I've put up a list on the forums of stuff I'm gonna show off. You know, I'm gonna do the helicopter. I'm gonna do a few other things. I'm not going to show the other endings because I feel like I've got to leave something for people to want to play it for. Like, just, you know, I haven't done everything perfectly. Get this game and play it if it tickles your fancy, and explore the endings yourself, because it's absolutely fantastic, and I think it's well worth it, and I think Arkane Studios deserves so many rounds of applause for what they've done. It gives me great joy playing and finishing a game like this, and a sense of satisfaction not too many other games give me. So, yeah, I'm gushing.
Beyond that, in case you're wondering what's up next after the bonus video is done, it's Dishonored 2, another Arkane game. We've been working on it the entire time.
Yeah.
The entire time that Robokai has been doing Prey, I have been in the background organizing everything, because we're doing it a little bit in the vein of Dishonored 1, but since there are 4 different routes, we have 4 different playthroughs, and we have a couple of new people that I've wanted to work with for a very long time coming in to help us with Emily. We've already got a couple of videos taken down, and I can't wait. Yeah. I just can't wait. It's an amazing thing, and it's not we're not even halfway done recording making commentary for it yet, but I'm so excited. I'm just like, I am sitting here stammering, trying to keep myself from spoiling too much.
Yeah.
Just can't freaking wait. But that will be going up just as soon as Prey is good and dusted. So keep with us for that one.
Yeah, that will be likely in the new year. So
more than likely, yeah. Like we've got Christmas now, man.
Yeah. So I guess at this point we usually have a little bit of a drop off once the game is done. Although I hope to see everybody in the next video where we're just plain old goofing around with stuff. It's been an absolute joy playing this game for everybody. I've been really enjoying all the feedback in the thread and in the comments section. So thank you everybody for coming along for the ride. Thank you for the advice, the insistence, and the jokes. And thank you for coming along, cool guy. It has been an absolute pleasure to get your raw responses yet again to a video game. It has been honestly, one of the best parts about showing somebody a video game is when they don't see any of it coming and just it blows their mind. And you get to go, this is what was happening. This is what was happening to me when I was playing the game. So it's, yeah.
As usual, homie, you have given me no reason to ever doubt your taste. So thank you for dragging me with.
Yeah. So to everybody, since this is going to date the video, I'm going to do it anyway. I hope you all have yourselves a wonderful Christmas. If the next video doesn't get up before Christmas, consider this the Merry Christmas call. And I hope you all have yourselves a wonderful New Year. And I hope you don't get a little too alarmed if you've got 2 presents under the tree this year.
One of them hopefully is a pistol.
Just wrench it. Just pick up a big old candy cane wrench and just hit that box. So I've been the Lost Robokai.
I've been Cool Guy.
And we'll see you all in the next video, but primarily we'll see you all in the new year, 2018. Even more video games.